Hello again, it's Sue Vickroy from the Bradford Public Library, and today we're bringing you our fourth episode in our collectibles, our artifacts here at the library in the historical room. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things. This is my curio cabinet right here. And I want to start at the very top. Many of you know Jerry Wiles, and he's now in Greenville in the Brethren home. This beautiful lamp belonged to his mother, was in their living room, and Jerry brought it down to the library before he went to the Brethren home, so we appreciate that. In here are artifacts that are from businesses here in Bradford. We have a fan from the Stalker Funeral Home, and of course here we have our Bradford Centennial. When we celebrated in 1966, the 100th year of Bradford. We have a salt and pepper shakers from John Festamaker. All's Well Exchange. These items came from Denny Lemon in Greenville. Denny is a great goer of auctions, and every time he sees something from Bradford, he picks it up and brings it to me. He likes to do that. Here we have a postcard from a druggist, B.A. Wyatt, here in Bradford. Look at this darling little cup. Remembrance of Bradford. Dick Lavey. Dick Lavey Trucking. I had a friend that was in military, and he was down at Wright-Patterson, and he said, Sue, can I ask you a question? We belong to the Dulcimer Club in Greenville, and one night we were eating at a restaurant. He said, who is this Dick Lavey? He said, no matter where I go in the United States, I see Dick Lavey truck. He said, they're from Bradford, Ohio. I said, yes, they're Bradford, Ohio. We have matches here from the Pennsylvania Railroad and Fashioner's Service Station, just out south of town. Speedway Auto Theater. Oh my goodness, I could tell you stories about that. And going on dates to the drive-in theater. Now this was something that we featured when we had our Bradford fire. This is a jar of marbles and stones, and they were collected on August the 4th, in 1920, after the fire. And there's a little note in here. I'd like to read it to you. Relics of the disastrous fire that occurred at Bradford, Ohio on the night of August the 4th, 1920. I wonder if it will ever be rebuilt. And those are stones and marbles that were in some of the buildings that burnt down. Pennsylvania things down here, we have pins from the Lions Club, Bradford Lions Club, Pennsylvania pencils, Pennsylvania passes, Pennsylvania noted things from Pennsylvania. This is sort of interesting. This is a Sprint. Like if you have a broken arm. This was made for a Carl Weaver in 1884, and it was made by Dr. Minton. Dr. Minton was a physician here in Bradford in 1884. Dr. Minton was born in Dayton, Ohio, and he got his education at Miami University, and then he came up to Bradford to practice. So we sort of like that. Let me see, what else we got down here? Oh, Bradford National Bank. We've got money bags from the Bradford National Bank and checks from the Bradford National Bank. This is Miami Citizens, but this is Bradford National. And this is what Bradford National Bank looked like on the inside back in its heyday. I'll put it down so you can get a better picture, Stacy. And this is what the Tellers area looked like. If you go down to the present day Railroad Museum, you'll see this ceiling just like that. Ceiling never changed. We have here a wooden brick from the roundhouse over in the railroad yards. This is a flare from the Pennsylvania Railroad. Here is something neat. This is a yardstick from the Arnold and Son Lumber Company. And anyone in Bradford that knows anything about the Bradford fire is well familiar with the Arnolds. And I love this. Stacy looked at this and said, "Oh, look at that cute little bag." Well, I'll tell you what this cute little bag is. Back in the day, men wore white collars around their neck. And this little bag was what kept them nice and clean and stiff when they weren't wearing them on their shirts. So it's actually a collar bag, Stacy.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
If you walk over here with me, Stacy, I've laid out some of the business things that we have here. Some of you are familiar with this. There was a question not too long ago Deb Floyd put on. She had a picture, and she said, "What is this a picture of?" And it was on the Bradford Do You Remember? And there was a big discussion whether it was a restaurant or what it was. And finally it was agreed that it was Club 721 upstairs. And Deb was gracious enough to donate it to the library. I have here some old businesses reminiscent of Bradford. Here we have the Bradford Telephone Company, and I have the Bradford Telephone Company ledger, and this is 1913. We have here, this is a receipt paid to the Bradford Telephone Company, $99. And that was in 1914. I like this picture. You see this building right here? This building right here is where my house sits now. That's the refinery next door to me. I don't know what was in there, but that's a pretty neat picture. This picture here, I like the story of these two guys. They had a popcorn stand. Used to pull it out on the street. That's a popcorn stand where people could walk up any time of the day and buy popcorn. We have a picture here of a meat market, and this came from Phyllis Shively. Her grandpa had a meat market here in Bradford. And this picture, Petrol Gasoline, that was the first gas station that was up here on the corner where Rich Oil is now, was owned by Mr. Perry and Mr. Teeters, who picture hangs here at the back of our library, our historical room, I'm sorry. And here, I bring these out for Stacy because this building right here is Desi's office, and that's the red brick building. Beside it, the Bosserman building, and look, this is home delivery from the Bosserman Company, or the Bosserman store. Here is a Gettysburg Miller. Jiminy Frost, look at that. 7,000. This was back in the 1900s. Undertaker and embalmer. Must have cost to bury people back then, too. This is a favorite book of mine. Mr. Perry, before he passed away, he made a listing of all the businesses in Bradford. It's called the Bradford Business Directory, and it goes from 1856 to 1870, and has all the listing of all the stores that were here in Bradford. There's Mr. Iddings. He had a general store. It was north of the railroads. There were all kinds of businesses in here. Here's a wagon shop, a carpenter. Here's a blacksmith, a livery stable, attorney at law. Independent, Morning News. There's the Sentinel. I like this one. Martha Robinson was a hairdresser. Switches, bangs, crimps, dressmaking, also done to order. There's one in here from a milliner, a lady that says she has hats available to rent for funerals. Stacy's laughing at that one. McCune and Boyer. Fruits and vegetables. There's a livery stable. Here's a millinery. The plain will look pretty if rightly attired, and by everyone be greatly admired. The beauty will look vulgar, depend upon that, if she has on her head an ill-looking hat. Miss Charity Nichols, opposite the Bradford House on Main Street. As I say this goes from 1856 to 1870. One of the things I enjoy about here in the library is looking at the old businesses. This book is it's called The Resume, and it's a precursor to the Railroader. And this is actually, it would be the Railroader from the 1920s. We have them from 1923 to 1929. We have copies here in the library. And one of the things I like to read are the ads in the back. Stahl's Menwear. Dr. Fink. I went to Dr. Fink when I was a child. He was a dentist. He was right there between the community club and the Bosserman store that Desi has now. There's Bosserman's. Now, as I said, these are precursors to the railroad, and I don't know how they do the railroader now, but back in the 1950s, this was the way we had. They were called handbooks, and these were put out in the 1950s, and we used to. When we were seniors, we always liked to go and get the day off. We got a day off from school to go sell ads. And you were given so many ads, and you had to visit these companies, these businesses, and solicit. So they would put an ad in the handbook. Here you see some of Blue Baker Pharmacy. Blue Baker Pharmacy drugstore is where the Joneses owns it now. It used to be the pool room or card room. It's across from the station. The Joneses own it now. That's from there. Blue Baker's. One thing I like about the Blue Baker Pharmacy at the drugstore is if you're ever in it, you look to the back wall, and I don't know if it's still there, but the whole back wall was a glass, like a bookcase, where they kept the drugs. And also in there, a number of years ago, I was in there, and they had this beautiful hand-painted safe. And that safe was in one of the businesses during the 1920 fire, and they just moved it across the street, put it in there. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what it looks like now because I haven't seen it for a number of years. You know, Stacy, when we were talking about Dr. Minton, I forgot to mention that a couple of years ago, relatives of his from out of state came down to Bradford and wanted to know about Dr. Minton, and we were able to fill in with them some of the events of his life here in Bradford, and we could even show him on the Sanborn map where his office was. His office was above the post office across the street where the park is now. And we were able to show them. We even have pictures of where Dr. Minton's name is on the window. So it was very nice to share that with his relatives. Now back here is something that we are very proud of. This was donated to us by Mr. Perry also. This is a movie projector, and it's from the Strand Theater here in Bradford. I believe that was the original movie theater. And we also have, these are glass slides. This one is from Patty's store. We have one from Miller Furniture, I believe, and we have another one from the lumber company. We only have 3 of these glass slides, and they're advertisement slides that were shown in between the movies on the projector. Hope you enjoyed sharing today with us our little excursion through the past and with the businesses here in Bradford, and hope you'd stop by to visit us in the history room. In the history room. We are open. You see ours on the door, and I'm usually in here, usually on Monday or Tuesday and on Thursday. And if I'm not here, I just live very close. You want to come in and talk, I'm available most of the time. Just have the girls call me over at home, and I will come over. Thank you.